苦国の誇りにかけて。この剣は友のために。
Hello, I'm Silveraxis, and at long last, the units coming this week are Hikari and CotC. We're going to open up these reviews. This review is going to be for Hikari, the Honored-Filled Prince from Ku, and a very highly sought-after unit for his A4. So what does Hikari do? Overall, he is a warrior, and his role is physical DPS. And the reason I say physical DPS is because his special abilities are, after using his latent power, he gains special buffs that allow him to exploit all physical weaknesses and then permanently double cast all skills used. His preferred weapons are fortune weapons for P attack or brilliant weapons for damage cap, fighting skills needed depending. You might need 2 sets depending if you're building for his spear or sword skills for the potency Absol. And preferred accessories would be P attack and damage cap all the way, because he needs all the damage cap he can get. So for his passive skills and latent power, his first passive is that he just gets self 30% physical damage up, which just means that he just does 30% sword damage up, 30% spear damage up, because his skills are sword or spear, no matter what he's attacking, so that way you don't have to worry about accessories for passive damage up. He's got that self-capped. His 3-star passive is that after he gains either Tenretsuzen or Sojetsuzen from using his latent power skills, he gains Demon of War, and then once he gains both of these from using his latent at least twice, he gains God of War. Once he has Demon of War, he gains self 30% physical attack up, so that also caps that. And once he has God of War, he'll double cast all attack skills for the rest of the fight. So for how you get this passive to trigger with his latent power is called Shadow's Hold, nice reference to Octopath Traveler 2. It has an initial cooldown of 2 turns with a regular cooldown of 4 turns. So when you use this power, you gain Shadow's Hold for 1 turn to replace all of Hikari's skills with the following. Tenretsuzen, which is a 1-hit sword, which is just a 1-hit single target sword, and he gains the buff of the same name. This buff will give him the ability to exploit dagger, axe, and staff weaknesses. He has Heineka, which is a 2-hit single target sword, and that also recovers 2 BP. And then he has Sojetsuzen, which is a 1-hit AoE sword plus a 1-hit AoE spear. Plus he gains the buff of the same name. This buff adds bow, tome, and fan weakness exploits. So the basic way to use this is use his latent power on turn 3 as soon as possible to gain whichever exploits you prefer right away, depending on the fight. And then you limit his latent power again as soon as it's recharged on turn 7 to get the rest and to gain permanent double cast for the rest of the fight. Your life ends 7 turns from now is a meme you've probably seen about him by now. This is why and how it works, because he needs 7 turns to set up. It's important to know that he cannot hit spear weakness with the sword strikes or sword with the spear attacks, so you need to choose which to set up for proper buffing and debuffing as needed. So for active sword or spear damage up, and then sword or spear res down, because it's it's not really optimal to do both, because you can't really reliably debuff both fully. But moving on to his skills, he has for his base kit, he has a 3-hit random target sword, 1-hit single target sword. It's a bit stronger. A 1-hit AoE sword. A 1-hit single target spear that gains guaranteed crit at max boost, and self 20% physical attack up and sword damage up for 3 to 6 turns, and a 2-hit AoE sword that inflicts 15% sword res down for 2 turns. And it's important to note that all of these skills, all these are listed without God of War being active, so all of these skills can be double casted once, except for the self buff, once you get God of War active, so you can just double the hit counts for all of these. His 4-star skill is a 2-hit random target spear with a low chance to inflict 15% spear res down for 2 turns per hit, and it becomes 4 hits instead if max boosted. So this, so with God of War, this becomes an 8-hit spear. Then he has a 2-hit random target sword with a low chance to inflict 15% physical defense down for 2 turns per hit. Becomes 4 hits instead if max boosted. It is important to note that while the sword has less potency than the spear move, so if you can choose spear, it might be better. But he also has less spear moves, so you have to kind of just play it out. And then he has a one-hit single-target sword with guaranteed crit at max boost that gets even more absurdly strong once he has Demon of War and God of War. And because he has no inherent damage cap up, this is a two-hit super strong Giga Nuke, basically. So if you want to use this to punch through some defenses or whatever, then you need a lot of damage cap. And then he has a TP skill, is just a self 10% regen plus 1 BP regen for 3 to 6 turns, so you can kind of throw that on him and not need to give him BP regen from someone else. So moving on to his EX skill plus ultimate technique. His EX skill has one total use, and it's unlocked once God of War is active, so the earliest it's available is turn 8. And it's an 8-hit single-target spear with OK power, but you have to remember that since it's unlocked when God of War is active, it's effectively a 16-hit spear. His ultimate technique is a damage class ultimate. It costs 4 BP to full charge from level 8. It's called Cross Slash Continuous, and it's a 5-hit AoE sword with OK ultimate power, and it does get a good bit stronger when he has Demon of War or God of War, effectively up to 2 times stronger. It scales to 5 times 75 at ultimate level 10, which would be 5 times 150, which is very potent. But this is a damage ultimate, so I would leave this at ult 9 and chase his A4 first, because he doesn't really need his ult. It is a good nuke option, although it's only 5 hits versus his other ones being 8 hits. It's still a pretty powerful nuke option regardless. But I'd still definitely chase his A4 first. So on Awakenings and A4 accessory, A1, like any DPS, Hikari loves A1, and you're going to get it on the way to his A4. Plus, he does have not the best base P physical attack, because at level 120 he still has under 500 base P attack, which is weird for someone that's supposed to be so strong. A2 is a luxury, because he doesn't need A2 for his game plan, but you're going to get it anyway. A3, all warriors have good base HP, but again, you're going to get it anyway. And why am I saying all this? Is because his A4 accessory, the Princess Belt. It has 140 P attack, which is great. And what it gives you is self 50,000 damage cap up. And it also gives you, when breaking an enemy, inflict 10% physical defense and physical resistance down for 3 turns. The A4 accessory tier rating for this is SS tier. This is a must-own A4 accessory, because this A4 is simply incredible, and it was without a doubt the second best exchangeable A4 in the game after Bargello's A4 that all accounts are going to want and can use. Damage cap is always needed, so this has you covered combined with a meaty 140 physical attack. And are you struggling to cap physical defense and or physical resistance down on a break? Well, this does that too if this is used on your breaker. So this A4 basically has 2 roles. It can either be used for an offensive build to give damage cap to one of your many DPSs when you're multi-DPSing, or you can put this on your breaker to help give you more physical defense down and physical resistance down, which physical resistance down does go for all physical damage types. It will stack in potency with other res down of physical. It just won't stack in duration because this is its own buff, but it's still very, very useful. Put simply, you should 100% shard for this A4 as soon as you can once you've gotten Bargello's A4. Do make sure you get Bargello's A4 first if you don't have it. That is more important than this. This A4 will be used an extremely long time, and you 100% want it. As a note, if you are forced to skip Hikari now due to rubies, you can still exchange for this A4 without owning them. You just can't obviously get the A4 unless you own a copy of them. So keep that in mind if you can't get them now, and you can maybe try to get them later. But that would probably, the more reliable way to get them later would be requiring paid rupees. So just keep that in mind. There's not a super easy way to get them for free later. So moving on to an optimal skill loadout. His skills depend on whether you are focusing on spear or sword skills. For sword, I would take his 2-hit AoE to debuff sword res, and then his 2 to 4-hit random target sword that debuffs PDEF, because that's going to be his best sword nuke once he has God of War active, being an 8-hit at max boost. Skill 3, I would say, because you don't really have much else to take, you could take the 1-hit sword that Giga Nukes, or the base kit 3-hit random target sword, fight depending. So you could vary it out there. And then skill 4, the self SP and BP regen. If you're running him for spear, the 2 to 4-hit random target spear that can debuff spear res, and it's also his 8-hit nuke. Skill 2, the 1-hit spear that can nuke extra hard, so depending on defenses, that becomes a 2-hit auto crit spear as well. Skill 3, self SP and BP regen, and then skill 4 is not needed for spear builds, but you could take like the random target sword that debuffs P-Def, since you're going to be exploiting physical weaknesses anyway to help you out, but you're mainly focused on that. This is just to give you an idea of like if you're heavily focused on one side or the other depending on the fight. But if you can kind of mix up the skills a little bit if needed. But just keep in mind that you're going to need to focus on one or the other, because like you need to have active damage up and active and passive resistance down, and you're still need to get a pick either spear or sword for the most part in those. For unit synergy, so Signa is a universal debuffer for ultimate and for all physical resistances, so helps regardless of sword or spear, because she does have that active skill, countdown skill that does all physical resistance down. Richard is a must-have because he actually buffs both spear and sword damage with his active and ultimate, so it really doesn't matter which way Hikari's going, Richard's just useful. Roland for spear damage, it's a must-have. Canary is the debuffer and breaker extraordinaire, so just super useful to have. No worries there, she's just going to debuff P-Def and be a really good breaker to inflict anything you need. Solon is a potency up ultimate for Hikari because he doesn't have any built-in potency up, and a spear breaker options for spear team. Bargello for damage cap up for existing, plus active skill massively helping, as Hikari needs all the damage cap he can get. Shauna for damage cap, immunity to death, regen. I mean, she goes great with any team though. Alright, so whether you to pull or not to pull, plus how I would rate him. Hikari is really cool. The issue is that he needs 7 turns to get set up, which is almost always going to be after the first break, and often can be quite deadly to stall that long if not. And secondly, his best nuke can only be used once per fight, being his 16-hit EX skill. And after that, he has 8 hits at best, or some crazy strong nukes that can 2-hit. So he can effectively run out of gas on his best thing, because like 8 hits is great-ish. There's just a lot of like other units can do more than 8 hits or do 8 hits better than he can. He has no init damage cap up, so he needs all that he can be given to do the most damage possible. Finally, his latent power buffs reset in between waves on wave battles, sadly, so that doesn't spring him up better there either. Yet, despite all that, I'm going to tell you to try to get one copy, because you want that A4 plain and simple. And normally I say to ignore pull advice and pull if you want them, but like you kind of want them if you can manage it, so good luck. So tier 4 FTP, I would say A0 and Bale. Hope for good luck. You only need one to be able to get the A4 over time. If you're forced to pity, choose him over Casti. See her review. She's great and better overall as a unit than him. But if you have to choose, his A4 beats owning her out. Tier 3, low spins, low passes, same deal, A0 and Bale. If you had a memory pity for some reason, this is a great place to drop it. Tier 2 Dolphin, A0 and Bale. Use the memory pity if you had one. There's far better warriors to use than him to need dupes right away. Chase A4 now if you must, but you can probably wait for it. Kind of just feel out your account and what you're willing to spend and how well you're doing with rubies. Tier 1 Whale, A4 him now and go back to speed clearing with your new toy. Overall, how I'd rate him, his DPS is a A+ DPS. I don't believe that he's the best DPS out there because his potency is not super high for his sword 8 hit. His spear 8 hit is pretty beefy, but like I said, it's also random target, so it doesn't work on AoE. And like I said, he doesn't have init potency up, his base P attack's not the best, and he needs a lot of help to get going, plus the 7 turns delay to even be able to double cast. His support options is basically C. He can do a couple debuffs when he attacks on the side, but he's not really doing any support other than that. Nothing for healing or tank, and so his overall tier rating is honestly just a B+. He's a solid unit, but he's not changing the game outside his A4. And so I can't rate a unit higher just because his A4 is really good, if that makes sense. Because the A4 can be used on anybody. Him as a unit, he's just B+. He's like maybe the bottom of A at best. It's just, there's just so much working against him. It's a really cool unit, really cool design. Just doesn't really work that well because you don't want it to spend that much time making him work, because he has to use his his LP on turns 3 and 7, which forces him to be in the front row to do, and his limit passive skills are just latent power skills are just not that great anyway. So there's just a lot of things that are holding him back, unfortunately. If he had built-in damage cap for his one hits, like his really strong nukes, that'd be a lot better, or other things like that. He could do some things, but unfortunately, like, he just needs a lot of support, and there's just better options to use for DPS than him. But yeah, anyway, good luck to everybody that's trying to pull for him, as in he and Cassie are super late for Global to beginning, but they're finally here at last. And if anyone has any other questions, please let me know below. Good luck for pulling. And let me know if there's any other kind of content or things you'd like to see from me, and I'll try my best to work on it. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Everyone have a wonderful day. Please like, follow, and subscribe for more COTC content in the future. See ya.